Hey, you want to see something really scary?
What's your favorite scary movie?
I'm gonna scare the hell out of you.
What was living behind that boy's eyes was purely and simply evil.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
When there's no more room in hell, the dead will walk here.
What's blood for, if not for shedding?
Welcome to Fright Night.
Welcome back to Jump Scare. I'm Betty.
And I'm Shad.
This week we're covering Abraham's Boys, a Dracula story.
I have made a disturbing discovery. Perhaps it was foolish of me to think that we could hide away forever. I had known for a long time that it might come.
Is this the Van Helsing home?
The world is getting smaller, closing in on us. But I will always do what is best for our family. I'm sure you've noticed your mother has been acting strange lately.
I see a shadow.
You must understand these demons can cross great oceans. We will set a perimeter. We are safe here.
He's here. Do you think we're in danger?
What do you mean?
What if they're already inside?
I need you to help me protect her.
The devil is coming and I want to be ready for him.
We must not abandon hope, son. Now is the time to rid the world of the demon. King Demon himself.
You're insane.
Evil is real.
Not.
Because there's no Dracula in this story. Well, briefly.
For a second. And maybe it wasn't Dracula. Maybe it was Powder from the movie Powder.
Could have been. It could have been Nosferatu. Who knows? But it was no Dracula to be seen in this movie.
Wait, correction. It was Timu Dracula.
Oh, yes. I'm not even sure if it was Timu Dracula. It might have been Shine Dracula.
So this is based on a Joe Hill story, Abraham's Boys.
Yes. I don't remember if it had a Dracula story in the subtitle on that one or not. I don't think it did.
We're going to say no. Fake news.
And wow. The story is reasonably short. It's not very long. I had heard, of course, that they, if you're going to make a full-length movie out of this, what was probably a 10, 15-page story, you would have to expand it, which is what I had heard had happened, that they had expanded the story. They did not expand the story, but they did stretch the story out.
They expanded the story by adding a character that never existed.
That was not in the story, yeah. Well, she was, but... So, to set it up, this is the story of Abraham Van Helsing, his two sons, Max and Rudy, and Mina Harker, living in a house out in the middle of rural California in 1915. It's supposed to be 18 years since Dracula was killed, and they are living out here now. Now, they're living in a house in rural California in 1915, but the house always has electricity, despite the fact that there are no power lines going to the house. Which the power lines back then would have been above and there, but there were no power lines visible anywhere. But they had electric lights on all day long in the house. First little thing on there that was like, really? Okay.
So already historically inaccurate.
Yeah. Now, the house looks amazing. It looks very, like this is a house from 1915 on the inside. The wardrobe was amazing. Everybody looked like super fancy, like you just walked out of 1915 from a very nice party.
For independent film, cinematography, everything looked good. Everything looked good. And you have, recognizable faces.
We've got
the lead from that movie, House of the Devil.
Yeah, Jocelyn Donahue plays Mina von Helsing now. Titus Welver plays Abraham von Helsing. You know him from every TV show for the last 35, 40 years. Plus, he's been the lead on Bosch for a long time now.
Bosch was Abraham von Helsing.
Yeah.
Written and directed by Natalie Kermani. She had worked on 2 other features before this one.
Yeah,
I think like a segment in a VHS.
She had a segment
85.
VHS 85. She did a couple of movies. She did that Imitation Girl.
And Lucky. The film premiered at the Overlook Film Festival this year. And, like we said, the look of the film looks like professional, like studio looks.
Yeah, this looks like it had a lot of money behind it if you just looked at the budget, or the costumes and the production value of it.
The acting, great. Like no issues with the acting. The pacing of the film, terrible. And that's because they took Joe Hill's very short and complete story to, do a 90+ minute or however long. It felt like I watched the film for 3 hours. It's one of those films where it never ends. And it never did end. And there's no resolution. Just like...
The story is... The basic story of it is they're living out there. And in the story, Mina is not alive. She has already died. And she's been gone for a while. And he's been living out there with the boys by themselves. Eventually, one of the neighbors dies. And the dad, Von Helsing, tries to teach them how to use her corpse for practice to killing vampires. They're already pretty convinced at this point that he is crazy and there are no vampires. When he starts kind of shoving the younger son around, screaming at him, the older one stabs him in the heart with a stake and kills him. End of story. You would think if you were going to make this into a 90-minute feature, you might have expanded on that a little bit. But they really just changed the sequence of events and just put a couple of more things in there. And long shots of people standing in front of the house, staring at it, looking off into the distance.
Looking at the fields. I am walking around my house. Which in 1915, wouldn't they had constructed that house? It's not like they had a contractor come over. Wouldn't they had built the house themselves? Or
you could have still had people build it if you had money. It
depends, right? But like, that person came from a long, far way because there was not even a general store around. They literally lived in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
Which he does state that he purposely did that, and they had, I had brought the evil, has carried over into the new lands. Bosch was very serious in this.
Now,
Bosch Van Helsing was not fucking around. He wholeheartedly believed that the vampires, which I'm like, well, then my other thing is like, if you kill the head vampire, Dracula, then where'd these other vampires come from? It wasn't like Dracula was like running around. It wasn't What We Do in the Shadows. He didn't have like roommates. I mean, well, let me take that back. He did have the two ladies.
Two or three ladies, whichever.
Which I'm sure they, died because, like, what are they doing, right?
Well, there could have been other vampires that was besides Dracula.
I know, but in my mind, I'm like, Dracula, like, we're going to go with the lore. When you kill, like, the head vampire, all the other vampires died.
Yeah.
From that line. So maybe there was another, Nosferatu. Across the sea, Nosferatu was that vampire of that land.
But the problem with both the story and the movie is they make it out to believe that there were no vampires at all. Like, there was no vampire, there was no Dracula. It's implied there was no Dracula, that everything was either all in their heads and there were no vampires, there was no Dracula, or there was a Dracula and now that he's taken care of that evil, nearly 20 years ago, he's still super paranoid about it and sees vampires everywhere and is just out killing random people that he thinks are vampires that just happen to be some chick walking on the road at night.
Yeah, because this is what happens. let's say Dracula, like, let's say the ordeal that they experienced in Europe occurred. Okay?
Yeah.
They left, they went to the new lands, and they started up a life. And I have a whole commentary about the whole Mina Abraham thing, which is okay. So we're going to put a pin on that. So they start a new life, you know, they're out there, whatever. And then from that experience was so traumatic. Imagine, you live your whole life. I mean, you never seen anything as horrific as someone that's out, you know, ghoulishly, you know, eating people, like, you know, killing people and doing all kinds of atrocities, and you have to fight this like crazy, strong, evil thing. Like, you get PTSD from that. So sitting on that for so long, and you're in the middle of nowhere, which is kind of like the Shining thing, right? The isolation makes you more crazy, right? That's like part of it. So it starts eating away, and you start seeing things. Maybe as opposed to adding Mina, making her alive, and then adding some like random characters, as opposed to doing that, maybe do more of him and her, Mina, if you're going to have Mina, but let's put Mina aside, maybe since she's dead. Have him see the things, and visually as the audience see those things. So then at the end, if you're going to do it ambiguous, it's kind of like a Inception kind of thing. Was it real or was it not real? We don't know. Drop the mic. Like, he's seeing, you know, shadows. He's seeing Dracula comment. He's seeing someone, you know, doing this or that, or maybe he sees someone at a distance. Something that would justify him getting so crazy in his head and paranoid and killing people, you know, that he actually saw something.
Yeah, it would be a little bit like in the movie Frailty. Frailty, the dad comes home. Have you seen that?
It's been a long time.
The dad comes home, tells the two kids, which is what reminds me of this, tells the two kids, hey, God came and he sent an angel to me, and he spoke to me and said, I have to go out and kill the demons of the world that are masquerading as people. And he gave me these weapons to do it. Here is an axe and a glove to handle the demon, these gloves to handle the demons with. And they're like, okay. The one kid believes it immediately. The older one, not into it at all, thinks dad's completely crazy. Throughout the whole movie, you see from the dad's point of view, he's telling them they're the demon. And the kid is not seeing anything. It's just a guy. And finally, at the end of the movie, they flash back to later, and you're seeing that when the dad and one of the brothers, I won't spoil it in case you haven't seen it, when the dad and one of the brothers touch the people, they see the demons. The other brother doesn't, because he is himself a monster.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, so I didn't say which one. But they're touching the people and seeing it and like, oh, okay, he's actually seeing the demons. When you flash back to that and realize, oh, okay, well, the dad and the other brother were right the whole time. It's kind of a twist because for the whole part of that movie, you were on the older brother's side.
Yeah, you're like, no, these people are crazy.
These people are crazy. They can't be doing that.
But yeah, but he wasn't a monster because he himself was a monster.
Yeah, but then when you see, like at the end, like, oh, they were really seeing this. This really were demons. This really was a thing that happened. It is a twist. And they could have done something like that here. But in the end, Van Helsing, who went to, he was a good guy all these years, killing vampires, helping people. Or was he? Who knows? But now he was just a guy who moved out to California and apparently just randomly abducted people he saw on the road.
Here's what happened. As all authors, and for those of you that may or may not know this, but if you saw a picture of him, you would instantaneously know. Joe Hill is one of Stephen King's sons. So he's out there, carrying on the family legacy of writing horror novels and short stories.
And he's written some good ones. And
he has. He's a talented guy. But just like Stephen King, there's a lot of short stories. And Stephen King himself has said that, these are stories, when the story ended. It didn't come out. Anything came out of it. It became a short story. You go in there thinking you're going to write a novel, and then you're like, only got this one idea, and it's a 10 pages, you know,
Yeah.
or 5 pages, whatever.
You got 10 pages out of it, and then that was it.
Yeah, and it ends. That's it. That's all you had inside of you, okay? Someone was like, you know what? I have access to a house in the middle of nowhere. And someone else was like, man, that's crazy. Because I just read this short story, and it's perfect for one house. They could have actually just made this a play. This would have been more interesting as a play. Because it's one setting.
Yeah.
And you have a bunch of people that can go acting, you know, throw the acting skills out. And then that's it. And then people walk away and you're like, okay, you know. The only scene is when you see something, which is so happens so fast, you don't even know what you see, you have to pause it, is when Mina is having her nightmare. And so what I took away, like you had mentioned earlier, is at the end of this film, I'm like, well, shit. Did they even encounter Dracula in the old lands? Did it even happen? Was it all in their mind the whole time? And now let's take the pin out of the Mina Abraham thing. What the hell, Mina? You had Jonathan Harker.
And what happened to Jonathan Harker?
He died. They said he died. Mention he died.
But,
so he died. We're gonna assume he died. What of the Black Plague? One of Dracula's rats bit him. Like what happened?
I don't know. It was still, you know, not
overcoming over. Are those actually his sons? We're going to assume those. It says Abraham's boys, so we're going to assume those are his sons. Wink, wink. But Maury Povich is not coming in.
Harker could have stubbed his toe and got an infection back then and died.
You could have died for any reason.
Like that thing from A Million Ways to Die in the West, where he says, "Well, shit, Doc, he had a splinter. There was nothing you could do."
He died of, and then your next thought was, well, I guess that Abraham Van Helsing is looking pretty good. Who, I may be wrong, but he's always played by an way older gentleman. Now, I understand it is 1915, so you're 13-year-old lady, you know, chick, and your husband's 27. Like, that's a thing.
That was a thing that happened back then.
But Mina was already considered to be an old maid, probably at the time after Jonathan dies. So she's just like, any mini, oh, you're the only one in the room, so I guess I'm gonna be your woman now. Like, ew.
This
gross.
may be like the youngest guy. I mean, the guy who plays Bosch is in his 60s, and he's in his early 60s, and he may be the youngest guy I've seen playing Van Helsing, because you think about it, like Anthony Hopkins, Willem Dafoe, they're all in their late 60s, early 70s. When they were playing it, the guy in the 79 Dracula was Laurence Olivier. I think he was 70 at the time.
So they're all around the same age, kind of.
Yeah, they're
it's
all.
Just Bosch doesn't look like frail, so he's boshing it around, so he has more weight on him.
So he's, you know, I think he was maybe like 60 now. I think he might be exactly 62, 63, something like that. He's around in the early 60s. So he's a little younger than the rest of them, but not by much. But yeah, he doesn't look quite as frail as, you know, Laurence Olivier or Anthony Hopkins, and
Willem Dafoe.
Willem Dafoe. Yeah, he's kind of skinny these days.
Yeah, but I mean, it's one of those things. Like, no. And then when did she have these kids? Because that one kid, though, he looked like he was of age. Like, we're gonna say he was like 17.
He was 16 to 17. So she had both these kids pretty quick right after she married Abraham.
There was no other. It was like, I'm gonna churn some butter and I'm gonna fuck. That's all you got to do back in the day. It's like,
there wasn't much else going up there. I mean, they had some books, but at least they did have electric lights, which I thought, again, I think is hilarious.
No, they would have not had electric lights. That was historically inaccurate.
Yeah, they would have had like gas lights. They would have had the lamps and all that kind of stuff.
There were no lamp. Not one candle was on this whole damn movie.
Yeah, it was electric lights everywhere.
They were like, no, because it was an Airbnb home. That's
Probably
why
they didn't want to put any candles out.
No, they were like, no, you can't have candles. Number one rule: no candles.
No candles at our Airbnb.
No parties. No people more than 4. Oh, and then let's get into how all of a sudden, because this is what heightens, I feel, the fear, because mind you, he's been living there, so there's barely anyone to kill around there. Like, who's he killing? But Bosch, the railroad be a coming. So of course that's gonna bring fear because it's just like, oh, and he's like, oh, he has this whole monologue on how like when the area gets more populated, that's when, you know, they're gonna start popping out, they're gonna start coming out. So the railroad is what got him activated. We're gonna assume where he's like, well, I'm gonna just go killing random people that I think that are vampires. But I mean, damn, they're only like one person around you, so you couldn't. There's Bosch, strapping 17, 16-year-old, 11-year-old. I mean, and then the woman, and then really back in those days, unfortunately, don't call me out. The woman, we're gonna put her. She was crocheting in the other room, so she wasn't gonna be doing anything if an assailant came in.
Yeah.
They would just tell her to, Mary, go back in there. Don't ask me why her name is Mary now, but it is. So, you know, there was no reason for him to be like, oh no, what was my life? It's only me against this one vampire. Like, you were going to be okay if that guy happened to be a vampire, or if that person happened to be a vampire. He killed a woman right off the beginning of the movie. I thought it was Dracula.
Yeah, I thought they were going to kind of imply that there was a vampire going around.
It was daylight, right? So I guess it couldn't be. Maybe
it was still kind of daylight.
Maybe he got Angel's ring, and Jealous is alive. I'm pretty sure around this time.
Yeah,
he's a gelling.
Like if they had one person even kind of look like they were a vampire, like maybe show a fang for just a second, and maybe only one of them sees it, and then there's like a doubt among people. You go like, oh. She kind of saw that, but the rest of them didn't. Or
they
whatever.
Couldn't afford the fang. It went all to the house and the clothes. But they could have gotten the Oriental trading fangs from those like back in the day fangs, where it's just a whole piece you put in your mouth. You could have been like, and then
something.
Oh shit! You know, in the shadows, you could have made that look good. And then you're like, oh no, there is a vampire. But yeah, there was no vampires. There was no Dracula tale. Where was Dracula? Nowhere to be found. I don't know. Maybe somewhere in the walls.
They should have called this Abraham's Boys an after Dracula story.
Yeah, I guess.
It's like the Aftermath show that no one cared about and everybody hated.
Or put a Dracula story and then like in like one font in parentheses put not period. So that people know. They're like, hey, it's in there. We printed it. That wasn't a Dracula story, so you can't be mad. That's Dracula. But yeah, so the unfinished Joe Hill story, that's what we're going to say, it's unfinished because it's very ambiguous. We don't know. And they could have fleshed that out and done more with it, but they didn't. And, you know, especially because we don't have a lot, and if anyone listened to our April Fool's episode that we had, which was amazing.
Dracula rides out. Or Dracula rides again, sorry.
Dracula rides again, sir. Dracula rides again. You would know that there's not a lot of Western vampire films. So if you were going to have, during this 1915-esque, you could have done so much more and probably filled the gap that people like us would like to see something like that. Obviously, we knew that Dracula wasn't going to show up. He dead. So, he more dead than he ever was. He's not coming. He's dust. He's not coming back. So, don't lie to me. And there was no reason, the reason why they added Mina was to add more flesh to the story, because there's no point in her being in there.
I feel like you could have, if you wanted to make this story just the kind of like psychological thing of whether or not, this is real or vampires are real, or if you had done this as a 30-minute Tales from the Crypt episode or a creep show.
Yeah.
I would have been like, okay, I'm on board, because a 30-minute version of this, cut down, okay, maybe. It wouldn't have been the greatest thing, but it would have been an interesting take on what happens after Dracula. I could have went, okay, that was kind of neat for 30 minutes. For an hour and 30 minutes, I can't.
Was it really an hour and 30
yes,
minutes?
Yes, it was.
Wow.
I think it was technically, it was 89 minutes. Woo. So not quite 90 minutes.
Man, I felt like I was watching like...
2.5 hours.
Yeah, I felt like I was like watching the longest movie I've ever seen.
The cinematographer did a great job, but it was also one of those things where they let the cinematographer play, and we're like, now linger on these amazing shots of the hills back here. And no offense to the cinematographer, but when you're in like the mountains of wherever, or like, you go on a mountaintop and set your camera down, you can take a beautiful image anywhere just by spinning the camera around, because it's all beautiful scenery out there.
Exactly.
It all looks great.
We need this up close shot of this cloud.
Yeah.
What kind of cloud is it? Is it a nimbus cloud? What's going on?
Yeah, it's you. They might be great at other things, but when you're just taking shots of scenery, pretty much anyone can make an amazing scenery shot.
I mean,
throw the camera off the back of the truck, it lands on the ground, pointing at the sky, and it comes out great.
At least Jordan Peele showed you some crazy saucer once in a while.
Yeah.
Show me a saucer. I don't know. Why is it in the movie about Dracula? I don't know, but it would have made it more fucking interesting. Maybe Dracula was an alien all along.
Draculalian. Draculalian.
Docu-alien.
Draculalian. I still want to see that Dr. Acula movie they talked about in Scrubs. He was always going to make Dr. Acula.
Dr. Acula.
All
that
right,
would have been more interesting. I give this film 0 knives. I don't even give it a knife. Do I? I know what I'm going to give it. I'm going to give it an appetizer knife. You ever seen those little mini knives?
Okay.
It's a mini knife.
I'm going to give it 1 knife just because it looked very pretty. It
sure looked pretty.
Everything looked pretty. Everything was nice. The costuming, the production design. The acting was fine, but there was just nothing for them to do. It's good actors, good production value, no story.
No story. The story was boring as hell. It was not a horror movie. Also, don't call this a horror movie. There is nothing horror. Oh, I'm sorry. Spoiler alert. Well, something does happen at the end of the film. That could have happened in a comedy. Really.
Yeah.
In a
I will say, though, there was a pretty good effect of that.
It was a pretty good effect. So kudos to whoever did the
effects people for that, because that was pretty good.
Yeah. Directing.
Fine.
Fine. Hey, we're three movies in, so you gotta build a resume. Gotta build a resume.
Yeah, like I said, on the technical details, it's not bad.
Yeah.
Technically, it's a fine-looking movie. It's just it lacks a story, and it's too long. Like I said, if you had done this for 30 minutes and trimmed this down, I could have been behind it and been like, well, it may not be my favorite episode of Creep Show or Tales from the Crypt, but it's an interesting one, because when you watched that show, you saw things that you were like, ew, that one was okay, but there would be 1 or 2 little memorable things in an episode of those that you would, catch on to. And if they had done something like that, I could have got behind it. But no, I keep ranting on and on about it. It's just too long.
We're pulling an Abraham's boys. We're just ranting, and we're going to extend this episode to another 10 minutes.
No, we're going to cut it off now.
Thank you so much for joining another episode of Jump Scare the Horror Podcast. Stay tuned to the horror.
And now, folks, it's time to say goodnight. We sincerely appreciate your patronage and hope we've succeeded in bringing you an enjoyable evening of entertainment. Please drive home carefully and come back again soon. Good night.